Hello and welcome to another monthly reading for people born in November. My name is Dr. Karen and I do colour readings, amongst other things. Each month I attempt a general reading based on the colours that are selected for you, and hopefully they will give you some guidance as to how to manage some of the turmoil that occurs in everyday life. If you're new here, you're in for something that you've never experienced before. On the other hand, if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm very, very pleased to see you. I'd like to hear, though, from you in the comments section as to how well, or if not well, these readings are going for you. This month, I'm going to try something a little different, because colour readings are only as good as the questions that are being asked. So let's get into it for you, shall we? This month, I'll be taking a card from the Angel Therapy Oracle, which is made by Doreen Virtue, a famous name within the Oracle community. Very well then, November babies. Let us firstly choose ourselves an Angel Oracle to go with this colour reading. An Angel Oracle to help us understand the colour reading for this session. We'll take that one there and pop it under here. And now I need some colours. Some coloured circles that give us an idea of what you brought with you from 2025 into 2026, what you brought with you from January, and what you are likely to face in February of this year. And finally, we also need an underlying colour. So first off, let's see, we have purple on the purple. And then we have black on cyan. And then we reach for orange on orange. And our underlying colour is green on cyan. Very well then. What you bring with you from 2025 is purple on purple, and that means that there has been a great deal of disruption in your life. There have been all sorts of challenges, all sorts of things that have gone wrong, all sorts of things that you have managed to fix up, to repair, to heal. And in this process, you have created a movement forward, because it's like that old song, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And that's the feeling that comes with this purple on purple. It hasn't been an easy journey by any means, but you have managed to survive because you are the ultimate healer, the ultimate fix-it-up person. If we look at what you brought with you from January, here we have black on cyan. Now, cyan internally basically means that whatever the turmoil was here in 2025, by January, had settled down into a state where things were not moving anymore. Maybe you were feeling too cold and icy and isolated that you didn't particularly want to engage anymore. Maybe you were exhausted in terms of the amount of work that you had to do. But certainly cyan internally is all about having peace and quiet as your goal. This is what you wanted. And in many ways, things had become stagnant for you. They just simply weren't working. There was nothing happening. In the real world, you had gone into retreat. You'd had enough, and now you were closing off. You weren't getting involved with anything, and so that helped to create more of that stagnance. If you were retreating, if you weren't available in the community, in the real world, then certainly there wasn't much moving internally either. So where does that take you in February? Well, here in February, we're actually swinging almost into the opposite direction of what we have down here. Orange on orange means crisis everywhere, but it also means enjoyment of a social life. It's like suddenly you've come out of your shell, and in effect, you need to become extremely powerful in the way in which you approach the issues that confront you. Orange is always a colour of crisis, but it's also a colour of confidence and courage and being able to deal with whatever comes at you in a way that allows you to survive, because ultimately orange is the great survivor. So what's underlying all of this? Well, here we have green on cyan. The underlying issue is the same as what you had here in January. That is, things are stagnant, things are quiet, things are not moving. If anything, you might even be a little bit bored with what's going on, which is interesting because the underlying energy of boredom does not bode well for dealing with crisis. If you are bored, sometimes we even create the crisis in order to be able to come back out of our shell. And the shell certainly was there in January. But here, this state of boredom actually allows you to look for and take on any new opportunities that arise. You are able to take on whatever it is that comes towards you. Something changes in your life, and that change is always something for the better, because green is about new growth. It's about new directions. It's about heading off somewhere where you haven't been before. And so together, these two allow you, through this wanting to relieve the boredom and the ennui of what's going on inside you, to head off in a new direction. And that's a pretty powerful issue to have as an underlying energy. Just be very careful that what you take off to doesn't end up creating a major crisis for you, because February certainly is going to be an extremely active month. But that's not the end of the story, because basically we need to look at what colours are missing, because they will help guide us through to what we need to do in order to achieve our goals with a great deal of satisfaction. So here we have black, but you don't have white. There's no red or yellow, but you do have green. There's no blue or brown, but you do have orange. There's no grey. You have purple. There's no pink, but you do have cyan. So what does that tell us? Well, if white is the colour that you are dealing with, and it's the one that is most appealing of all of those, then what it tells you is that it's time to clear the decks, to move away from whatever it was in the past, to allow yourself an escape route. On the other hand, if this is a colour of something that you dislike, you don't like white at all, and it's the one that you want to avoid at all costs, then white gives us the opportunity to hide away what is going on inside of ourselves. But we desperately really need a dose of enlightenment. It's because you've put your light out underneath some sort of lamp that is going to obscure what you can see. And so in that effect, you are hiding. But the hiding is not something that is good for you, because you need to allow yourself that little bit of curiosity and experience to bring yourself back out into the real world. If the colour you're dealing with is red, and red is the colour that you most like, then this is all about being in charge, being your own boss, telling everyone else who makes the rules, and who that person is, of course, is you. There is a warning, however, that comes with red being the most liked colour, in that there is a certain degree of impulsiveness. For example, whatever it is that you've done in the past that's led you now to this potential for crisis in February will often trigger off some sort of response. And if that response happens to be a red response, because that's the thing that you most are likely to do as your default, then you're likely to make some sort of impulsive decision. And red and orange don't actually go together for calm and comfort. They can be extremely powerful in surviving a crisis, but they also are very dangerous potentially, because red ultimately says stop. If red, on the other hand, is the colour that you least like out of all of these, then what we have here is a suppression of rage and anger, of all of those things that allow you to know that you have an emotional state that is out of control, but you don't want to describe that to anyone, you don't want to present it to anyone, and so you are suppressing it deliberately within yourself. Trouble is, whenever we suppress anything, sooner or later it will escape. And when it escapes, it can be quite bloodletting. It can be dangerous. So be careful if red is a colour that you dislike. If the colour that you want to deal with is yellow, and yellow is the colour that you most like, then this is all about learning, getting out there, enjoying life, going and experiencing new things, and also remembering the things that you have experienced before and allow you to deal with new experiences as they come forward. Yellow in the real world is often associated with a great deal of study. So maybe you do find yourself wanting to take on some formal education. But if it's the colour that you most dislike, then yellow is all about fears and anxieties. It's about not knowing what to do next because your memories of whatever it is that you did in the past are holding you back. They're preventing you from moving forward because yellow causes all sorts of gut rumblings, gut feelings that are not necessarily pleasant. In fact, that can be quite unpleasant. If blue is the colour that you need to deal with, and it's the colour that you most like, then it's all about organisation, getting your ducks in a row, making sure that everything is in its place and that all of your duties are categorised according to the greatest need. It's all about nurturing both of everything in the environment, but also of people. If it's the colour that you least like, however, blue is always a lack of nurture for yourself. It's a disorganisation. It's not being able to look after the one person that does the organising, and that, of course, is yourself. So it is a colour that helps you retreat. It's one that causes an imprisonment because you're not doing things for yourself. It basically says, shut up, do as you're told, get on with the job, and don't complain. If brown is the colour that you choose to work with and it's the colour that you most like, then it's all about you getting your act together, starting to create some goals in your life, learning the skills that are necessary to attain those, and taking the steps that are needed in order to progress from where you are to where you want to be. Now, if brown, on the other hand, is the colour that you least like, then brown is all about procrastination. You don't have any goals. You don't even want to make any goals. You don't know how to make goals. And perhaps the most useful thing that you can do for yourself is to create a goal that comes through as what you need to do first. In other words, make yourself a list. What has to be done? Not what you want to do at this stage. If you get through some of the things of what have to be done, then you will eventually be able to create room for those things that you would love to do, those things that you would like to achieve. If the colour that you're dealing with is grey, and grey is the colour that you most like, then you have the happy knack of being able to walk the middle road without getting caught out. This is being able to tread between right and wrong, good and bad, and also dealing with conflicting and often opposing ideas and inspirations and views and other people's input, but doing so in a manner that doesn't offend. Grey is all about that treading carefully. And if that's the colour that you most like, then that is the default that you will take when this fails. On the other hand, if grey is the colour that you least like, then grey is all about being uncertain, confused, indecisive, can't make up your mind. You're stuck in a place where you are paralysed, not necessarily by fear, because fear is more associated with yellow, but there's a certain amount of that within grey also in the way in which it presents itself. So if grey is the colour that you most dislike, then the cause of your fear and anxiety and also your indecision is something that you need to deal with. And that now brings us to pink. If pink is the color you choose to deal with, and it happens to be the color that you most like, then your default setting when these issues, when these colors, these skills no longer work for you, is to ask for help. Now, pink is one of those colors that actually attracts attention. It attracts attention, but it also attracts love. It attracts people to come and help you when you need that help, and they will take over and eliminate whatever it is that ails you. Pink doesn't have a great deal of red in it, and you've got red missing here as well. Anyway, pink is a weakened form of life. And so if it's the color that you most like, then it's the color where you give up your own autonomy and allow others to take it over. As a color that is most disliked, pink is one associated with illness. Now, that illness can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual illness. It doesn't really matter. There is a feeling of being ill at ease and not having the energy to be able to do anything about it. One of the attributes of pink as a disliked color, however, is that it still attracts attention. And sometimes it attracts the sort of attention that sometimes is not only unnecessary from your point of view, but downright invasive. Pink makes you vulnerable. And if vulnerability is the issue that you need to deal with because it's the color that you most dislike, then the only way to deal with that effectively and quickly is to give yourself a dose of red. But that's entirely up to you. Let's now have a look at what the Oracle has to say on the subject. And for this, I will need my glasses so I can read it. All right, so what do we have here? Visualize success. See yourself doing well in this situation and have faith in a positive outcome. Well, the situation we're talking about, of course, is what's coming towards you in February. It's full of good times and crisis times. So visualize yourself doing well, having fun, achieving your goals, being able to stand in the middle without getting caught up in anybody else's dramas, getting the help and love that you need, learning something new, being organized. It's all there available to you. It's up to you to make the choice to decide which colors and which skills you're going to deal with in February. All right, then. It's been a slightly different way of dealing with the color reading. But as I said, it's all about the questions that are asked, which brings me to an offer that I made some time ago, and no one's taken me up on it, which is, if you would like a personal color reading with me, be prepared for some surprises, then please contact me through my email address that I'll leave in the description below this video. I'm not charging for it, and I will take the first 10 people that bother to apply, and they will get a free color reading. It's up to you to decide whether or not you want to comment on it. It'll certainly be private. I will record them, and I will allow you, as the only person to see them, to let me know what you think. Until we meet again next month for another set of color readings, and I might change the system again, depending on the questions I want to ask. May the colors that you choose help guide you to where you need to be, as well as where you'd like to be. Until then, bye.